Hi everyone, I'm jumping on today because I want to just talk a little bit and share some moral support for anybody who's going through separation or divorce right now. And my reason for that is because I've actually had two separate conversations in the last 24 hours, quite randomly, with a couple of women who are going through separation from their partners right now. And they're both really struggling, understandably so. And I don't profess to be an expert in this area at all, and I certainly don't have any qualifications in sort of separation counselling or marital advice or any of that. But I was really glad just to be able to offer a little bit of help and support virtually to these ladies. And I thought it might help somebody else, because if there's one or two people suffering right now, then there is bound to be more. So I'm sharing this more widely on here, and I know that I will have some ladies on here who have been through this, who can offer some words of wisdom and support as well. So please do contribute and share your thoughts below. So I'm Kirsty Broder. I'm a retired dentist turned stay-at-home mum and entrepreneur, and I actually help women to minimise their oral health problems during menopause. Now, I'm not going to be talking about that today. I'm actually just going to be sharing a little bit on my thoughts of how I helped these two women to kind of pick themselves up a bit. They just needed it right then. So firstly, my first thought is that yes, separation can be incredibly tough, particularly if the split isn't amicable and if it is mostly one-sided. And we need to know that it's okay to feel all sorts of emotions during this really difficult time. And the way I kind of understand and process it is that the separation process and all of the emotions is really quite like the grieving and bereavement cycle. There are very specific phases that we go through. They're very well recognised, and particularly after a bereavement. And everybody goes through this process and goes through the cycle at different rates. There may be denial, anger, a search for a reason, some sort of bargaining, even attributing blame and a cause to somebody or something in particular. Then, quite often, there's a depression element to it, and ultimately, once we come through all of that emotional roller coaster, there's ultimately acceptance when we're actually able to move on. Now, if you're struggling with this right now, please know that your emotions being up and down is absolutely normal and to be expected, and you're certainly not alone. What struck me in particular when I was talking with both these women is that they stated that they felt utterly worthless, and that just made me feel really sad, because I know that both of those women have so much more to offer the world, yet they are absolutely shattered emotionally, that they just cannot at the moment see their worth. And it's really sad to think of anybody being like that. So it got me thinking back to a book that I read about mindset, and actually how we have 10 saboteurs. And these saboteurs are basically voices in our head. We all have them. We all have them in different strengths. These voices in our head basically create negative emotions, and it's those emotions that impact how we handle daily occurrences and daily events. And the main saboteur that we all have is called the judge, okay? And this saboteur, the judge, he causes us to have opinions about ourselves. We're judging ourselves and also judging other people. And he or she is a very strong character for most of us. And the problem is that this judge will have us believe things that, like, we're just not worthy. And it has us believe things that other people might be thinking about us. And these thoughts are never positive. And they're actually never true. Okay, but the judge tricks us. It's a mindset trickery thing, that the judge has us believe these things about ourselves or about other people. And the judge is wrong. And we can actually start to move our mindset into a place where we can actually catch this judge character when it's about to act or when it's actually in action. And if we can do that, we can catch it doing its thing, then we're actually able to kind of label it, and then we can lessen its power and in effect kind of flip the mindset, flip a switch from a negative emotion to a more positive emotion and a more positive mindset. Now, it sounds a little bit crazy, but when you start to kind of pick up on things, and it comes with a level of self-awareness that this is happening, that then you can actually start to see, hang on a minute, or hear in your own mind, hang on a minute, that's me judging myself, or that's me judging others, and imposing the judgment of others upon myself as well. And actually, I'm telling myself these things which just aren't true. I need to flip my mindset into a more positive stance and focus on something which is going to benefit me rather than hinder me and knock me down. And it really isn't necessarily that easy to do, particularly when you're dealing with emotions which are all over the place, and particularly what we're talking about today, the emotions of a breakup in a relationship. So I've got a few suggestions that may help. You may have your own suggestions as well, and I'd love to hear from you too. So my first suggestion is that actually, know that it's actually okay to feel like you do, and that there is this process akin to grieving that you will go through, and everybody goes through it at their own pace and comes through it in their own time. Secondly, I think it's really, really important to talk to somebody and get support from a friend, family member, or even the doctor if you need to. When I suffered from postnatal depression, I needed counselling, I needed support from the doctor. I talked to friends as well, but I got so much out of that counselling. I really, really am a big advocate for talking therapies. I promise you it will help. And taking that first step in acknowledging the issues and actually then, getting an appointment. I know it can be really, really, really scary, but it's the best thing that you could do, in my opinion. So thirdly, finding something that you can actually do for yourself, to get back to being you. Something like a hobby. Maybe you've got a hobby that you've fallen out of doing. Maybe you could pick that up a little bit. Maybe you could start doing something new. Give yourself focus, give yourself time to actually prioritize yourself and make yourself feel better by doing something for you. Fourthly, you could consider daily affirmations. Again, it's not something I've ever done historically, but more recently I found that daily affirmations, just telling yourself something positive about yourself, can really, really help to train your mindset from a negative to a positive one. And fifthly, you could look into this concept of the 10 saboteurs and the judge in particular. I really do recommend it. It's a book called Positive Intelligence by a chap called Shazad Shamain. And if you do want the information about the book, you can drop book down below and I'll send the information over to you. It was a fabulous kind of read for me, and it's something that I dip back into again and again to get clarity on these saboteurs. And actually, it's helped me and myself to kind of pick up on these things and flip my own switch, basically. So I'm sure it will help you too. So they're my 5 points. Lastly, know that you're not alone. I'm certain, as I said earlier, that if I've spoken to 2 women in 24 hours, there's definitely more who are struggling right now. And I know that there's people on here who will be able to offer support and guidance as well. So, and I do invite you to share something that's maybe helped you in the comments below. And if you do want to connect with people, there'll be people on here that I'm sure you can connect with too. So, and I'm always at the end of the phone or message, so please don't suffer alone. I hope that has been useful to you. Take care for now. One last thing before I go. I am creating a little series of question and answer sessions about menopause and health. And I would love a little bit of help with a bit of market research. So if you're suffering with menopause symptoms right now, perhaps you have some questions. Questions such as, why do I lose my hair? Why do I suffer hot flashes? Why do my gums bleed? Why do I ache when I get out of bed in the morning? These sorts of questions I'd love your thoughts about. So please fire them into me in a direct message, or you can put them in, there's actually a separate thread on my profile right now. So I would love to kind of gather that information so that I can start to help provide you with some answers to those questions. Take care for now, everybody. Have a great rest of the day. Cheerio.